sound. We're working through it. We're getting Greg started on smoking. And Eliza, let's get her on the mic real quick here. Eliza, tell everybody what you do. And I'll have you scoot over here a little bit so we'll have space for Lowell and everybody. What do you do, Eliza?
I am a professional laser nerd. I'm a laser tattoo removal specialist.
A laser tattoo removal specialist?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I take tattoos off with laser light.
And how much have you grown this year as a percentage? We were looking quarter over quarter.
Quarter over quarter, we've had an increase. Gross, 35%. Quarter over quarter.
And I'm just telling you this because, again, I'm giving you stats. I encourage you, don't believe me. Write it down, look it up. Sean will pull it up again just to make sure you get this. In America today, according to U.S. Debt Clock, there's only 8.8 million self-employed people now, okay? It's a very small number. I mean, it's like 2.6-something%. But 96% of those businesses are failing by default. So why do the clients that we work with grow? It's not because I'm a genius. It's because I have a myopic focus on what works, okay? And we're following what works, and we're implementing it and diligently doing it. But you don't have to be a certain age. Obviously, Greg is a little bit younger than Eliza. And so that's something that maybe you picked up on. But I think some people think I'm too old, I'm too young. I hear that a lot. I'm too old, I'm too young. I live too much on the West Coast, too much on the East Coast, too much Midwest. Aaron, you work with home builders all across the country. And the home builders are having magnificent growth. And one builder is having so much growth in Valparaiso.
Yeah.
You were at a national home builders conference, correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
And I ran into you at the airport. I was coming back from the Eric Trump. We wrapped up the book tour, and I was with Eric, and I just ran into you at the airport.
We randomly had a layover together, yes.
And you were telling me that you were at the Home Builder National Conference.
Yep.
And you ran into a competitor of your client.
Yeah, it was wild.
And what happened?
So this builder I've been working with for about 6 years, and he was a pretty small home building company, and it's grown a lot. And I'm sitting at this table waiting for this event to start. There's like 8 builders sitting there, and we're talking, and this guy starts realizing, oh, I kind of want to talk to you. So he starts asking me questions. Finally, the question he asks is, there's this builder in my town who is just kicking my butt. There's 100,000 builders at this convention. This guy is sitting next to me. He's like, he is just kicking my butt. I don't know. He came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he has all these Google reviews, and I know he hasn't built that many houses. And he gets all the leads. We used to get all the leads. We don't get any leads. I'm getting ready to go out of business. I need somebody to help me. Can you help me? And I said, what's the builder's name? And he tells me, and it's my client who's kicking his butt. So I was like, I can't help you, but that's too bad.
These are real, it's real stuff here. So this works. I was, recently there was a Republican fundraiser event. By the way, I'm more of a libertarian, but you have to vote either way, and so I go Republican, but I think ultimately somehow voting Republicans means continued expansion of government. I'm not quite sure how that happens. But I was at this fundraiser, and there's a cosmetic surgeon who's like, hey, could you help me with my company? And where are you located? He tells me. He's like, this guy's kicking my tail. I need help. I go, who's the guy? He's kicking your tail. And I'm like, that's my client. So, sorry. But so the systems are going to work, but I just want to be very clear, and then we'll open up to, we're going to get into the questions. If we do work with you, I only work with one person in each market. So you are a home mover. You're a home mover, John. And it's interesting. All your competitors have reached out to us in recent months because they want us to help them. And I only work with one because it's very competitive. You heard Tim talk about competition. I'm fiercely competitive, and I just want to make sure that you're winning. So if you're in a market where I can't help you, I get it. But these principles work, okay? But remember, somebody wakes up tomorrow and is going to do these things if you don't, right? Tim was talking about that. There's somebody waking up tomorrow willing to do the things you're not doing if you choose not to do them, okay? So now, Lowell, you're in the music lessons business. Let's pass the mic to Lowell real quick there, Eliza. And let's look up, you're in Midland, Texas?
Midland and Odessa.
So let's look up Odessa, Texas music lessons. There's a lot of things he's doing beyond just Google optimization. But if you type in Odessa music lessons, there you'll see Dolce's music. Did it blow your mind the first time you started getting leads off the internet there, Lowell?
Oh, yeah. This is the first time. Yeah.
What did it feel like when you got like the first couple leads?
It was like, whoa, this is working. This is great. We got 5 leads. We've had consistently over the last several months, somewhere around 4 to 6 leads every week.
And Colton, you can yell at us. You're a fit personal trainer. This is Colton over here, personal trainer. Are you getting leads off the internet now? Is it so? What does it feel like when you talk to someone that's not in your natural market? Refreshing. Okay, so I just want to encourage you, if you need leads, we're going to help you with that. If you need, now once you get leads, it's about systems and processes. So let's go to the questions. Josh, let's answer some questions on the board, and then we'll get really into systems here. Okay, next question. What do you got?
Specify the reasons why Google removes reviews.
Okay, at OxyFresh, there's 500 locations, and so we'll bring in Google to come speak at our conferences, and so I'm just going to walk you through how it works, okay? If you bring in the Google, if you're a bigger company, Google will come and speak at your conference if you want them to, okay? And the way it goes is like this. They'll tell you, if somebody has not left a review for another company, they will likely not count that review until they start leaving more reviews. So how does that work? Imagine you're a home builder in Mississippi, right? And you say, could you leave me a review? And they go, yeah, sure. And by the way, could you continue habitually leaving reviews henceforth? That's not going to work, you know? So again, that's not something you can control. And entrepreneurship is about focusing on what you can control. So I'll tell you, if you ask every client for a review, about half of them are going to stick. The second thing is you can't review swap, all right? So legitimately, Devin Woolry, who works here, Devin bought a house from Shaw Homes.
Yeah.
And so Devin left Shaw Homes a review because he legitimately bought a house from Shaw Homes.
He did.
Then Aaron left us a review because we grew his company, and they won't count Aaron's review because it looked like there was a review swap. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you can't say, hey, I like you. Could you leave me a review, and I'll leave you. Even if that did happen in the transaction, Google will not count that. Are we on the same page? Also, if there's like rage reviewing, so if all of a sudden you were leaving 5 negative reviews in a row or 5 positives in a review, so if you left like, oh, I'll leave a review for you, and I'm going to leave 3 reviews for 3 companies in 3 minutes, they're not going to count those either. Does that make sense? So typically you're going to lose about half the reviews by default, so you just got to ask. Okay, next question.
With heavy compliance, how do you get a call list to cold call?
Okay, compliance. Let's talk about that. Who is in a compliance-heavy industry? Here, you are. Okay, so I want you to know about 80%, 90% of the clients we work with are in some kind of compliance industry. What does that mean? I work with a lot of doctors, a lot of cosmetic surgeons. So let me walk you through this mental jujitsu. I'm going to go to you, Eliza, on this. We'll pass the mic to Josh. I'm going to take the mic from your beautiful face and give this to Eliza real quick here. If you are a cosmetic surgeon and you're my client, hear me out on this. HIPAA. What's HIPAA? Okay, there's all sorts of rules. I'm not allowed to violate your medical code and ask you questions about your private medical condition and post it online. Does that make sense? However, how many of you, if you were going to go to a cosmetic surgeon and needed to get something done, how many of you would want to get some references first? You know? Yeah, sure. So it's like my wife's dealing with a skin condition right now, which is why she's going with the indoor sunglasses, the Bieber look today, you know what I mean? So you don't want to, if you have a skin condition, you don't want to go, I saw you got 2 bad reviews on Yelp. You want to let it roll here? Am I your first customer? You want to get some reviews, right? You want to read some reviews or things. So cosmetic surgeons have to get reviews. However, every cosmetic surgeon I've ever talked to has said, well, HIPAA tells me I can't. So what I tell my clients is just ask your client for a review. And when the HIPAA board comes after you, you go, it's not like I snuck up on my client and got a review from them without their knowledge. I didn't say, please leave a detailed medical description of what we did for you, but just professionalism or radar customer, you have to get reviews. And so government gets involved in businesses, and anytime government gets involved, that's a problem, okay? So you're gonna have to get reviews because that's how people buy things, okay? Video reviews. Cosmetic surgeons, the hardest reviews to ever get are video reviews from cosmetic surgeons. I would argue tattoo removal. It might be a little bit more difficult to ask someone to leave a review when they had a regrettable tattoo removed. What's the most common tattoo that people want to get removed? Like, what's the most common category where they go, I got to get that removed?
I would say I remove a lot of wedding bands.
Wedding bands?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
People will get their partner's name or initials tattooed on their wedding finger, and then when they get divorced, the tattoo is still there.
And so you remove those a lot?
Yes.
But you have to get reviews still?
Yes.
When you ask someone to leave a review, you go, hey, I know you just got Carl's name removed from your hand. It might be a little too soon, but can you leave a review? Does it go over well, not well? How does it go?
Most of them are pretty thrilled to say that they finally removed it, but there's a couple different ways that I do it personally. First, I always ask if they're willing to do a video review, or if they're willing to do a written review, or if they're willing for me to be able to post the video of their removal online. If it's something like a wedding band, only the people who know them would recognize it necessarily, so their face isn't in it, and if they consent to that, fantastic. Most of them are completely willing. For a written review, you don't necessarily have to say what tattoo you got removed, just that you got one, you were happy with the service. Kind of the same thing for a video review. You don't necessarily have to say like what tattoo you got removed. If you want to, they absolutely can. But just, it's a general review of service.
Yeah, like Clay, in mine, I didn't get the 3 teardrops after I got out of San Quentin. I didn't say anything about that when I did my testimonial.
Thank you. Thank you for not saying. Now, Josh, you are a financial, we'll call it financial consultant of such. You're a bookkeeper. You're an accountant. Aaron is a recovering gang member, but you have compliance. You have some compliance issues you got to deal with. When you ask for reviews, both Google and video reviews, how do you deal with that?
You just ask for objective reviews, right? And so, like, one of the helpful things for us is because, we only work with a select number of clients, is we actually do, I've heard a lot of strategies out here, but we do an event for, clients who maybe aren't ready for our normal products or services. We have a 1-day seminar, and we're able to gather reviews from that because we've given them a legitimate service.
And again, so the question was, do you believe in buying a call list? I do. And Bronson Schubert, remember the bearded guy who spoke earlier? Bronson does do that. So the organization I would buy a list from is called Data Axle. And you could buy a list to call. It's called Data Axle. That's the organization, Data Axle. You can buy a list from that. Also, if you're in the financial world, trade shows are great, too. Trade shows are great. Who's ever done a trade show? Trade shows are great because there are people at the trade show that are a good fit, people that are not a good fit. But you're in front of a lot of people, and you're able to offer what I call a no-brainer. So, Greg, let's talk about that for a second. You go to trade shows, and what percentage of people at the trade show are wanting to install wood floors?
It's actually a pretty low percentage usually. We don't get a lot of customers, but we do get quite a few reviews.
So Greg can go to the trade show and show examples of his work and say, hey, could you leave a review based on the quality of our service, our work? A lot of restaurants I work with will provide samples. By the way, Trisha, that's a power move, by the way. That's a power move. I got a restaurant right now in Visalia, California doing it at this very second right now. He is at a trade show offering free samples of his food. And he'll probably end up with 80 or 90 reviews here in the next week by doing samples. So trade shows are powerful. But if you're in a compliant industry, I work with a lot of doctors. Trade shows is a great way to get in front of people. But you got to get in front of people. And if you do want to buy a list, Data Axle's who to buy the list from. Next question. What do you got?
How do you put your to-do list in your calendar, or how do both of those work together?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to pick on Eliza for a second because in my opinion, she's one of the best at this, even though she was born yesterday. So the to-do list, this is a to-do. Everybody got the to-do list here? Got it? Okay. And Avery, there she is. She's been married about, is it 6 months, a year? Almost a year. I mean this, I'm not just saying this because she's here. I have personally DJ'd, we'll call it 1,000 events in my lifetime, probably 1,000 events, okay? And the best wedding program I've ever seen was hers, and she made it herself. The most detailed itinerary, scheduled events, it was just over the top. Everything about her wedding was great. How many of you ever been to a wedding and you're like, when is this train wreck gonna end? You ever seen that? I was at her wedding and I'm like, this is great. We know what's happening. It was engaging. There was a flow to it. It was great. You want your day not to feel like the train wreck that's not going to end. Does that make sense to you guys? So you want to have a to-do list. So I actually printed off my to-do list here. So this is an actual look at my actual to-do list so you can look at it. And I want to go over it with you. It might not be super exciting, but I'm going to go through it with you. And then I'm going to have Eliza kind of comment. So it says here, call Matt Pinnell. Just so you know, Matt Pinnell is our lieutenant governor, and I had to call him about a thing. So that's what that is. Second is I got to confirm a helicopter. One of the events I'm doing, we're renting a helicopter, so I have to call to confirm the helicopter. Third, I got to call Vanessa to determine end-of-year inventory. Who likes taxes? Those are exciting. I love that. End-of-year inventory. That's always fun. Flat tax would fix all these problems, but we'll never do that. Okay. Number 4, Tebow. Got to confirm that. Charlie Red. Okay. Got to confirm that. And you can just see there's like a schedule of things that have to happen, and there's a to-do. This is my list. This is my list. I make a list of things that have to happen, and then on the other side of it, this is my schedule. And the question is, how does the schedule and the to-do list work together? Imagine you're driving your car, and your windshield is kind of like your to-do list. You know, you're looking out the windshield, right? And then maybe your calendar is like your speedometer, you know, your different gauges, or you can reverse it. But the point is, it's very essential to your day. You can't drive your day if you don't have a calendar and a to-do list. So Eliza, talk about it because you've really embraced that. I'm not sure when you picked it up and when you decided to do it, but you've really done it. Talk about the to-do list.
Well, it's really important to make a list of what you need to get done because they're usually in order of priority. There are certain things you have to get done during a day, and there are certain things that could maybe wait a day, or you could do it, later on in the week. But either way, you have to know exactly what needs to get done for your business to thrive. So me personally, I work between a certain set of hours during the day. Those are when I'm taking appointments, so I obviously can't work on other things during those hours, which means that I have to set time aside, before and after those hours to finish the administrative things of the business so that it thrives.
Now, I'm going to, and I'm upstairs. Can we turn up the mics by about 10% across the board if we can? Years ago, the guy I was just telling you about yesterday who's selling the company for $100 million-ish, 101. How many of you have ever bought a franchise? Do you guys know what well, let me get into what franchising is. And Josh, can you maybe take notes in all cap on the whiteboard so that way we can kind of all follow along here? A franchise works like this. I believe, by the way, Eliza would be a great person to license her business or franchise someday. I also think that Lowell should do that, okay? So all a franchise is you're buying a system that produces profit predictably. It's a system that produces profit predictably. Who here's ever bought a franchise? Now, you buy a franchise because you want to say, hey, I'm buying a system that produces profit predictably. So, Eliza, your dad's an entrepreneur, your mom's an entrepreneur, you come from entrepreneur line here, but you're looking at your numbers, and are you starting to be able to kind of predict a little bit of profitability in terms of percentages? Is it becoming predictable?
Yes, very much so, and that doesn't happen without systems.
And by the way, no one's going to buy a franchise from you or a license if you don't track your numbers, okay? So, Lowell, you track your numbers. How many musicians do you know, Lowell? Let's pass the mic to Lowell real quick. That have a degree, they studied music, but they don't know how to make it a career.
About 100% of them.
Yeah. So now, how many of you saw his tracking sheet today, and you see, wow, this guy's doing $38,000 a month of revenue. Wow, if I was a musician, I would like to do $38,000 a month of revenue. That's a system that produces profit. Make sense? Okay. So I'm working with this guy. And we got to 4 locations. 4 locations. So he's got 4 locations. Avery, put that in your mind. Thomas, put that in your mind. By the way, you only need 2 locations, in my opinion, to build the base. But once you have, Aaron, let's say 4 locations of a business that are thriving, in this guy's case.
Yeah.
Why would somebody else want to buy a franchise from someone who has 4 successful locations?
Because then he doesn't have to build it all from scratch. He understands that there's a process there. This location, that location, that location, all profitable. The chances of me being profitable, I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
I would argue what you do for home builders is a lot like franchising.
Very similar.
It's a system, okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but you charge a less percentage. Franchise are usually 6% or something.
Yep.
So, but Greg, you're a home. If I would argue what I do is kind of like franchising. We're helping you build a wood flooring company. I know it works. You know it works. Why do you want to follow a proven system? Like, how many success stories do you have to see on the walls, Greg, before you thought, okay, this makes sense?
Well, when I came here, that's one of the things I said. It's like I've got this thing in my head, but all these ingredients are spinning around, and I'm trying to figure out how to make sense of it. And well, that's what he does. So you take all these ingredients and you put them in a row, and now you have a system. And now we're building, well, soon a 3rd business, and now it's getting easy.
I'll be kind of vague, so I don't want to get myself in trouble, but there's a guy who since has kind of sold his business, but he had low to moderate energy, and he does exactly what Steve does. He was in Florida. This guy had low to, come on. Don't act like you don't do this. You met someone with low to moderate energy? You met these people? They're the yawners. They kind of sound like Chewbacca when they talk. That kind of person. And I'm going, low to moderate guy. His wife pulls me aside at the conference. She says, hey, my husband, she didn't say he has low to moderate energy, but it's almost like a diagnosis. She's like, my husband over here needs some help. He's... And so I'm going, is that him? She's like, yeah. He doesn't have a lot of drive. What is he into? Video games. I'm like, dear God. A 40-year-old man's into video games. He doesn't work. Oh my God. Can we save the patient? I don't know. That's how I kind of think about it. But we helped this guy build a multi-million-dollar mortgage company just because it's a system. Now, Steve has maximum drive. So it's fun watching Steve because Steve's going to drive that thing. You know what I'm saying? But it's a system, okay? So back to this licensing thing. So so step 1, you get the system. Step 2, you need to sell a location to a friendly. You need to have one location that's not you, all right? So my buddy, he's got this business, and I said, we need to have somebody who has low to moderate drive who can run the system and make money because you've got maximum drive. And I need somebody who's low to moderate. And he said, Buddy of mine's former top athlete, a disaster of a business person. Great former athlete, top athlete, but he is a disaster. He's a train wreck. He's like, once he figured out he could no longer play sports at a high level, his life has not gone well. And I'm like, that's our guy. He's like, why? I'm like, because he's a disaster. And if you can make a disaster successful, this is a guy who won't keep appointments, won't write crap down, won't get serious about his life. Who knows people like this? The former jock with no discernible skills and talents, but they talk about 30 years ago all the time. I'm like, that's my guy. That's the golden baby. If we can make this guy successful, we can do it, okay? So we go to this guy, so we sell a location to a friend. So we said, we'll sell you a location for $0 down, and you just pay a flat monthly fee and a small percentage. Make sense? So we've proven the concept with the friendly. Step three is you have to create what's called a franchise disclosure document, okay? And this is also called an FDD. That's the language you'll hear. And there's a thing called an item 19. If you can just put item 19 on there. Item 19 is the financial disclosure. And you have to make sure that the finances are tight. How many of you would want to know the finances of a business before you buy one? Okay? Now, Steve, you know this because you do mortgages, but you have to appraise a house before you buy it. And in the franchising space, almost all franchises are purchased using a small business loan. Are you following me? So when you go to a bank and say, I want to buy a franchise, they're not going to approve you for the loan if the business doesn't make any sense. So you have to track the numbers. That's why Eliza is on pace to do something profound, because you track the numbers. So Eliza, when you track those numbers, is it kind of fun for you looking at those numbers, Eliza, seeing the progress over time? Like, I want to go back to Eliza real quick here. When you see those numbers, like, is it kind of getting fun seeing it happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you can start to see it ramp up very quickly. It becomes very addictive, and it's very motivational. Like you're talking about merit-based pay. There's a merit associated with watching those just skyrocket.
All right, so now once you get the franchise disclosure document done, by the way, that process is about 150 grand paid to lawyers. You can just put 150 grand next to that item 19. That's why if you license a business, it's great, because but if you franchise, that's a federal government regulated thing that's federally regulated. It's 100 grand or more. If you do a license, you can't have as much control over the location. You could say, here are the systems you should follow it. If it's a franchise, you say, here are the systems you have to follow it, okay? The federal government regulates franchises, licensing, not so much, okay? So anyway, we help this guy. Now we've got 5 locations. Now, how many of you would have to see 5 or 10 or 20 locations of something before you'd want to buy one yourself? Like, what's the number? So, James, how many locations would you have to see that were successful before you'd want to buy a franchise of some kind? More than 10? Zach, how many would you need to see before you'd say, yeah, I want to buy this franchise? How many locations would you have to see on paper that were successful before it would seem like it made sense to buy one? What's the number? One? Steve? We're loading them up. Steve, how many would you need to see? Seriously, if you were going to buy a franchise of some kind, like a Domino's or some brand, a Little Caesars, how many would you need to see before it'd make sense? 100,000. Locations? Yeah, because I don't like it. Okay. How many, what's the number? Anybody here have a number? No, 10, 5? Yes, sir. What do you think? 1. Okay. So anyway, my client, we get to about 10, okay? And then I said, listen, this is so big, it ties into to-do list, okay? I said, listen, 99% of franchises are sold through a broker. That's how it works, okay? So this is how it works. Go to Google, Sean, type in buy a franchise. The brokers, they control the search results. So when you Google buy a franchise, no matter what website you go to, it's usually a broker. And I said to my client, I said, if we'll go to this guy, the godfather of franchising, and I will beg him to become the recommended franchise of choice, you, my friend, will be a multimillionaire. And he goes, how does it work? I said, what's going to happen is someone fills out the form. They say, my husband and I were looking to buy a franchise, my wife and I, and we want to know what's a good fit. And his company will say, based upon what you have said to us, we would recommend you buy a Sports Clips or a Great Clips or whatever. And he makes a commission. And if you get him to recommend you, you will be a multimillionaire. Okay? So that guy's name was on my list every day for years. And finally, I got the godfather of franchising to schedule a meeting with me. And I said, Terry, if you will refer my client, we'll pay you 25 grand every time you refer the deal. Every time. And Terry said, okay, let's do it. This is the guy who sold all the Great Clips, by the way. This is the guy. And now, hundreds of locations later, this is a business that is on pace to be sold for $100 million. You know? But that was on the to-do list every day. That was so it's called the biggest limiting factor. What's the needle mover? Now, if you don't have a to-do list and you don't put the top thing at the top of your to-do list, what happens? What happens by default? Lowell, you're a busy guy. What happens if you don't, I'm going to pass the mic to Lowell real quick. What happens, Lowell, if you don't intentionally every single day get up before the world starts and make your to-do list and put the top most important item at the top? What happens?
Oh, it doesn't get done, for sure. You have to prioritize, and the way, like, different people think about priorities differently, but I like putting the very most important things first. And so, yeah, I mean, some people like spreading it out. Well, this is my, best time during the day. This works better for me. I'm more creative at this time. I just like putting the very important things first. I spend time with God. I shower, then I do Clay's stuff. That's how it goes.
And I'll just tell you this, I every single day, how many of you have to organize your day before you go to bed? I want to get your hand. How many of you have to organize your day before you go to bed? How many of you do it in the morning? Okay, so I'm just telling you my routine. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just trying to help you develop your routine. I know that once I go home, so once I get home, nothing productive happens from the time I get home until I go to bed. Nothing. Because it's a different environment in my family. We got 5 great kids. They're hilarious. They're all kind of comedians. And I love hearing them talk about their day. And there's always something going on. And it's fun, but it's kind of like a Seinfeld. You guys remember Seinfeld? My living room is like Seinfeld. All my kids are comedians. They're hilarious. I could just sit there and listen for hours to their stories. But it's not really a productive time for me. But what I find when I wake up at 3, 100% of nobody else is awake. So I set my alarm for 3. I wake up. And I organize my day. That's me. Some of you do it before you go to bed, but you got to find a schedule. You got to organize your day. So I'm trying to help you be successsul. Somewhere on page 0, you got to do this, okay? So step number 1, I'm asking you, what time are you going to organize your day? Okay? You got to do it. Got to do it, okay? Second, this is big. I'm just trying to help you. I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs to help them. You have to figure out how to get yourself moving. I got one of my clients right now. He lost 90 pounds this year, 90 pounds. And I go, you are like, if a strong wind blows, you're going to disappear. It's amazing. This guy, he's gone. He's holding on to the flagpole out there. Unbelievable. His whole thing is he figured out, former athlete, if he doesn't work out in the morning, his whole day is a disaster. Anybody else like that? His whole thing, if he doesn't work out first thing, it's like the whole day is just not fun for him. Other people I know, that's the opposite. They work out and they're pissed. Well, I worked out, now I'm pissed, now I'm upset. Okay, so you got to figure out your own routine, but you got to have, so you got to plan your day. You got to make a to-do list and a calendar every single day. Greg, I want to go back to you for this, and I'll go back to Aaron. You got to do bids, Greg. People say, I want you to bid a floor, bid a home remodel. You've got to block out time every day. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that is the biggest limiting factor for you right now. Not generating leads, it's doing bids.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
And that's why Greg has started smoking.
Ironically, that's what makes us money. Well, you get the lead, you have to give them a bid. You go look at the job, you got to bid the job. And it's like this chokehold on me, because as soon as I go to my computer and I start typing, the phone rings. Somebody lost a 2x4. It's just all day like that. So it has to be at a particular time of the day, and the phone disappears. You just have to block these things. One thing that might help, by the way, in the beginning, I didn't really understand the difference between the schedule and the to-do list. The to-do list stuff probably gets to the schedule eventually. I don't know if that helps anybody.
Got to have a to-do every single day. Aaron, I want to talk about this because this is the stuff that will change your life. You got to have a to-do list. Got to have a calendar. I'm telling you, you can go to 1,000 conferences and probably one will talk about this because it's always about motivation and some get-rich thing. But I'm telling you, this is the brass tacks. If you do not have a time every day to organize your day will be a disaster. Aaron, how do you plan your day?
Yeah, well, one of the things I would say is if you have a bigger company, sometimes it's not just your own to-do list that you're trying to handle. You're trying to handle other people's as well. And some of you with employees, it's like you need to figure that part out too. I watch Clay do this very, very well. But it's like that huddle with your team at the beginning of the day is to make sure it's kind of like stepping into the huddle, Tim Tebow, in the middle of a game. It's like, okay, you call the play and each person has to go do their part. So some of the things you need to offload from yourself if it's not the highest and best use. But I always need to download out of my brain at night what tomorrow looks like. Otherwise, I get in the middle of, oh my gosh, when I wake up in the morning, I feel panicked, and I don't want to feel panicked. So I'm kind of the opposite of Clay from that.
Now let's pull up my calendar for next week there real quick here. What I do in my schedule is I schedule these purple blocks. And how many of you meet with a client for the first time? Like you have a meeting with a potential client of some kind? Okay, so my purple blocks are available for interviews where I'm on a show, or I'm interviewing someone on my show, or that's when I do 13-point assessments. That's what I do. So my purples are when I meet with potential clients or when I do interviews. That's in my schedule, so my team doesn't have to ask me, hey, when are you available to meet a potential client, or when are you available for an interview? It's in my schedule. Make sense? The purples, you got that? Okay. The greens are, it's a commitment with a client, so it's non-negotiable. I meet that client at that time. Are we on the same page? So you got to have a calendar. You got to do it. It has to happen. You got to have, okay? Now, Glory, thank you. Okay, now next item here is when you're building your business, this is the document I like to call Happy Hopers versus Diligent Doers. And everybody up here right now is what I call a diligent doer. So Josh, I'm going to go through this with you here, okay? A diligent doer, this is the person who is successful. And how many of you have been doing your industry for more than 5 years? Do you not pick up patterns over time? You see patterns? Like when I did wedding photography, we built the region's largest wedding photography company. I found patterns. And how many of you have ever met Momzilla? Momzilla? Come on, you ever been to a wedding with Momzilla? It's where the mom is trying to recreate her wedding and the bride has to endure it. And I can pick up on Momzilla. I'll ask the bride, hey, real quick here, we're planning your wedding. Is this your mom's wedding or your wedding? I just want to know. And the bride will go, it's my mom's wedding. I just happen to be wearing the gown. Okay, got it. Because you got to figure that out. Because if you don't figure that out, you're going to have a crazy day, okay? I figure out the weddings. How many of you have ever been to a wedding where they just want to have a blasty blast, a fun wedding? It's going to be next level. It's going to be high energy. Other weddings, it's going to be more subdued. I kind of know patterns, okay? The pattern I see of super successful people is I call them diligent doers. So Josh, variable number one I see in all of my super successful clients, they know their why. They know their why. What does that mean?
I think they know, why are they getting up every day? What are they doing this for? What's the point of it, right? Because, I think Thibaut was talking about the fact that, once you get through that first week or first 2 weeks of training camp, no one's super energetic anymore, and it comes down to why you started out the task to begin with.
They know their why, okay? So if you want to be super successful, you got to know your why. And I'll tell you my why, and maybe this is helpful. I grew up really poor. And so when my dad was 37, he was delivering pizzas, and he was working at Quick Trip. And my dad, may he rest in peace, he did the very best he could, okay? How many of you kind of grew up in a tough financial situation? My dad did the very best he could. I'm not bitter about it. I'm actually glad my dad taught me work ethic, and he did the best he could, right? But I just remember going, my dad's 37 years old. He has a college degree, and he's working 2 jobs. Working night shift at a gas station. He's delivering pizzas. I don't want that to be my life. I remember having that thought when I was like 13 or 14, something like that, all right? So my why, whenever I talk to a potential client like Rock and Rhonda, I know it sounds crazy. When I talked to Rock and Rhonda the first time, I kind of picture like I'm talking to my father. And it's like if I was talking to my father and my dad's going, hey, I'm a father, I'm trying to provide for my family, and I don't know how, please help me. That's how I process that. When I talked to Karime the first time, I'm kind of talking to my mom, talking to my father, talking to my family. They're going, hey, I need to grow my business. I don't know how. So I don't ever want to take advantage of somebody. I always want it to be a win-win, but that's what drives me. So when I'm on the phone with my clients, I had one client last week who said the words to me. He goes, I think you're more passionate about my success than I am. And I go, yeah, because I hate mediocrity. It pisses me off. I hate failure. It bothers me, And so I have a big passion for it. I couldn't do what I do and have done it for 21 years if I wasn't passionate about what I do. You talked about passion. Tim talked about the definition of passion, okay? But you have to know your why. You have to know your why. Now, on to this next variable. You got to know your key performance indicators. I want to go to Josh, then we'll go back to Eliza. Your key performance indicators. Every entrepreneur I've ever met who is successful knows their numbers. They all know their numbers. There's none of them that say, I don't know. But the people that are not successful never know. Why do all successful entrepreneurs know their numbers, Josh?
Well, it's like a professional athlete looking at the scoreboard. You have to know the score, right? And there are some things that are on your financial statements. They're on the balance sheet. They're on the profit and loss. And there's some things that are not. The Google reviews, the video testimonials, all those numbers matter.
Now, this is wild. How many of you came to the Reawaken tour? Were you there? This is what's wild about the Reawaken Tour, is the most successful people, and Aaron, you saw this, and you could probably vouch for this. The most successful speakers, the most successful people, they never miss their speaking time.
Correct. They were always on time, and they were prepared when they showed up and knew exactly what they were going to say.
Every time.
There were some that were not.
They would hit
all.
their start time. They would hit their end time. The most successful people, we had a handful of billionaires that spoke at the tour. They're on time. One guy called me and said, hey, a good friend of mine just passed away, so I'm going to fly to there, and I'll drive, and I'll be there. And that guy was Eric Trump. Eric said, I'm going to drive. I got a funeral, but I'll be there. I'm not going to. Now, people that are not successful, you don't know if they're going to show up at all. And if they do, there's normally a story attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
And Aaron had to sort the speakers. That was Aaron's primary. We didn't recognize this would be a primary essential task, but it was.
Yeah.
Because some people that are notable doctors, they're going, what time is my speaking time again?
Oh, the most common thing was, what time am I speaking? You know, is it today? Is it tomorrow?
I know you emailed
Eric
me and texted
Trump,
me and called me, but what time is it?
Eric Trump always came two speakers before he was going to speak.
Every time.
And he wanted to listen to the two speakers before him so that he could get the feel of the crowd, feel of the flow before he stepped in. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Tim Tebow, every time he's spoken at our conference, he always is here on time. He's here early. There's no drama. It's amazing. People that are successful have a strange relationship with their commitment. It's like, it's a non-negotiable. If they say, I'm going to be there, they are. Are you on the same page? Successful people, like, they really value your time and theirs. And they're not perfect, but they really, really strive to honor your time. They really strive to honor your time and their time. People that are not successful blow off meetings all the time. I had a really weird conversation with the guy yesterday from California, and he wanted to be a client, and he was a client for 2 weeks, and we just had to punt. And I said, hey, I don't know what's going on with you and your life and the whole thing, but you had 2 meetings, you missed both meetings, now you're late for this one, I don't hate you. And he's like, what are you saying? I'm a client. I'm like, well, you're not anymore, because I can't handle the jackassery in my life. It's a weird, contagious thing that you have called poverty. And you came into my life because you want success, but you don't respect the time of your consultant, and you miss the time, and you don't even care. You blow it off, and then you send a text. You know, and you want to. How many of you know people like this? You can't plan a vacation with these people because they're always late. You can't plan a trip because they never have their stuff. You know what I'm talking about? And they always act like, and they always come with that emotion, that hot mess of emotion, like they have a reason that they couldn't make it that's more valid than the time of your wedding. You know these people? It's embarrassing to know these people, because you go to church with them and they're like, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to be late. Everyone's like, shh. Have you been to a movie with these people? The movie starts at 7, and at 7:27, they're like, I am so sorry I am late. And everyone's going, shh. These are also the people that take the phone call in the movie. Have you met these people? In the movie, have you seen these people? In the movie, they take the call. It's just a bizarre creature, okay? Oh, yeah. So it's very important, though, that the successful people, they honor their time, they keep their meetings. I want to ask you this, Lowell. Lowell, you and I have worked together now. We've built the business from scratch. It's coming together. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. But the idea is you try to be on time. I try to be on time. Why is that an important thing for you?
I'm going to try to not be emotional about this, but in my view, this man is a miracle from God. And the passion and everything that he's done for me and for this nation and for you guys, everything that he's building, he's come up with a solution for not just you, but for this macro thing that's happening in our world with all the geopolitics and everything that's messed up everything. Anyway, for me to be able to actually be standing in front of you guys and with him on this area is the most humbling experience. And for him to have reached out to me, I take it so seriously. It's the honor of my life. I'm not going to miss a meeting with him. I'm going to be there waiting on my phone, praying to the Lord that I will be inspiring to him and will be motivating to him, because he's actually stepped into my life at a very difficult time. And I thank God for it.
I appreciate that. I want to just say this, though. I didn't know you were going to say that, but thank you. is you just want to honor. Are we on the same page? Are we getting this idea? You just want to honor people's time, okay? If you want to be successful, and if you're somebody who's here and you're like, I'm guilty of missing all meetings, that's okay. That's called jackassery. We must cure ourselves from jackassery, okay? Moving on here. You want to have granular assigned action items, okay? You see this, diligent doers? Diligent doers think about specific, granular, detailed action items. Unsuccessful people assign vague things that are hard to understand. Eliza, I want to talk to you about this. I happen to have, we'll call it north of 100 employees. So when I assign an action item to someone, I have to say, I need you to make this change on this website at this time with this color on this website at this time. It's specific. You need to be here at this time, do this. Why do you have to be granular as a business owner as you've started to grow your team and grow your business? Why do you have to be granular and not vague? You have to say, we're going to do this specific thing at this specific time and not just a vague idea.
Well, it's kind of like starting a run, but you haven't tied your shoes, or maybe your jacket's falling off and stuff like that. Like all of these things, if you're not specific the first time, it's a delay further on because somebody has to then come back to you and be like, do you mean green or do you mean blue? Or, you know what I mean? Like it takes them away from what they were doing, takes you away from what you were doing. And if you were just specific, and very, very obnoxiously clear the first time, essentially, then you're not going to be efficient.
Let me tell you how we wrote Eric Trump's book and General Flynn's book. So I did both those books, and I'll tell you how we did it. Okay, so I said, Eric, he said, Clay, you help me write books, right? You do books, right? I said, yep. He said, if you were me, what would you call the book? And I said, I think Under Siege is something you talk about all the time, so that'd be a good title. He goes, I agree, let's go. So that was the title, okay? And then he said, if you were me, what would the cover look like? I said, I already have one designed for you. Let me show it to you. So the book cover for Under Siege, we designed that, boom. And he goes, if you were me, what would the book be about? And I said, well, let's talk about it. So we made a table of contents, and then he said, well, how would you go about writing it? And I walked him through the process, and then Eric did it, got the book done. Then he sent me the book. Come on, someone should, I'm telling you, this is how it goes. He sent me the manuscript, and I read every word of the manuscript, okay? I didn't have an AI bot do it. Come on now, somebody. Come on now, somebody. Your head is in your ass right now. I didn't scam or skim. Somebody's like, well, I want to have my assistant read my book for me. No. Your face needs to look at your book and read it yourself with your body and your mind and your time and your brain. So I read it, and then I sent it back to him, and I had edits. I circled with the red pen. Who remembers high school? And I sent it back with probably 1,000 misspellings, errors, things that I thought we should change. And then he sent it back to me like a game of tennis with like a whole clean slate, and I'm going, oh man, I'm gonna have to what? Read it again, baby. Cover to cover, hanging out with my lover, my wife, it kind of rhymes. I'm sitting there with my wife reading this book all the time. I have a psychological problem. Every second of my day is reading this. And I go, Eric, I love this book. However, there's one part that gets kind of long, and I think I hate that part of the book. And I think you do too, because the readers, I think, will hate it too. He's like, okay, let's take it out. And we go back and forth, and we went through this process of like a tennis match of the book, where I read that book so much that I began to hate the book. I began to hate America. I began to hate our founding fathers. I began to hate the process. And then, who's ever written a book before? And it's like writing a song, by the way. And at the end of the hate, I started to go, oh, this is getting good. But part of me, called all of me, wanted to abdicate my responsibility and let somebody other than me read it. And somebody here needs to hear that. You want to abdicate. Delegate means where you ask someone to do it and you follow up to make sure it's done with excellence. Abdicate is where you ask someone to do it and you don't follow up. I'm going to try that again. Abdicate is where you ask someone to do something and you don't follow up. Delegate is where you ask someone to do it and you follow up to make sure it was done with excellence. Aaron Antis.
Yeah.
Shaw Homes. Multiple of our employees bought houses from you.
Yeah.
And I know one thing you did great at Shaw Homes is you did a final walkthrough before the person closed on the house.
Yes.
You walk through the house, looking at everything, making sure it's right. Are you okay? Do the sinks work? Why do you do that walkthrough?
Well, if you are not the quality assurance program for your own company, then you turn your customers into your own quality assurance program, and they will point out everything you do poorly for you. And they'll also share it with all their friends and neighbors, and it doesn't look well on you. So we had a 194-point checklist that somebody would literally, believe it or not, you guys, somebody had to go into the master bathroom, sit on the toilet, flush it 5 times, look into every corner of the room, make sure all the paint, the trim, everything was done correctly. That was one of the things they had to do. They had to run the dishwasher like 5 times to make sure it's not going to flood. Those are the kinds of things we would do to make sure there's excellence. But we painstakingly, just like you went through the book, we went through that process to figure out all the pain points that we might create for our customer if we didn't do that,
Right.
and obsess on it until it was perfect.
For Laura Trump's birthday, she turned 40, and she invited my wife to her birthday party. And so we're there, and I wake up every day at 3, as I told you guys. So guess who calls me the day after Laura's birthday at 3 o'clock Tulsa time, 4 o'clock Florida time? Eric. He calls me, hey, how was the birthday last night? And I'm like, great. Still a little shocked that he called me. He goes, was there anything we could have done better? About a birthday party. I'm going, honestly, it was incredible. I mean, Bongino was looking good, but, because I was at this party with all these political notables, and I'm there, and I'm like, why am I here? How'd this happen? But he wanted to make sure that it was excellent. And I think somebody here, we want to skip that part. We want to skip that, okay? It's the messy middle. It's what drives success. It's the follow-ups. We got the to-do list, right? Got the calendar. We got to get that follow-up. Next area of diligent doers. You got to get, as it says here, right here, E, follow-up. They like accountability. It's not normal human behavior to like to follow up. You have to like to follow up. You have to like to follow up. You have to like to follow up. Greg, back to you, Greg. Greg, why do you have to learn to like to follow up with the contractors, the employees, the people that are installing those wood floors, Greg? Why do you have to follow up?
Because something will go wrong, and it would be so much better if you found that if you found that item before your customer finds it.
And we're in such a culture now. Let me tell you what happens by default. Most of my clients will use Monday.com or some sort of TaskRabbit or some management tool, some AI assistant, some Google chatbot, Claude thing. And they go, yeah, it followed up with my employees. Josh, I'm sure you've heard this. And they go, my AI assistant is following up with my employees on my behalf so I don't have to. Let's pass the mic now to Josh. What happens when an AI chatbot, TaskRabbit, to-do list, Salesforce, drip automatic campaign, some sort of just dystopian digital thing follows up with your people instead of you?
It hallucinates and lies is one of the problems.
I see business owners, they go, yep, everything got followed up with, it's good. I go, I don't think that's true. I think somebody just clicked the checkbox. Have you guys ever rented a car before? Anybody here rented a car? I rented a car last week because, we ran into a semi, and the car guy at the car rental place was interesting. He goes, well, sir, we'll do a walkthrough. Everything looks good. You sign here. And I didn't, look at the car. I didn't approve the car. I didn't know. We just, looks good. I could have returned that car after hitting a pole, and he would have said, looks good. Because it's an automated process, and he's just clicking through to get through the task. Does that make sense? So you have to get engaged in that follow-up process. And I see, Aaron, how often do you see business owners that don't want to follow up with their team?
Pretty frequently, yeah. That is, the follow-up is I'm bringing something negative to you, and I want to be liked by you. I see that most commonly. The owner wants to be liked by the people that work for them, so they won't follow up as heavily. I also see that most owners of businesses were some sort of tactician or specialist in an industry, like in home building, a framer who's a great framer, electrician who's a great electrician, becomes the home builder. And the thing they have to do is take the magic they had, make it into a checklist so that they're no longer the magic, and they can plug a different person into the checklist, and that becomes the magic. But then somebody has to follow up to make sure it's actually happening.
I'm going to swap Lowell for Steve for a second. Steve, I'll bring up Steve real quick here. So, Steve, when you do mortgages, thank you, Lowell. Let's hear it for Lowell. Woo, Lowell, yeah. Steve Currington, again, stevecurrington.com. If you're tuning in online, that's stevecurrington.com. America's top mortgage lender, Steve Currington. Okay, so Steve, when somebody tells you, and I see it a lot in my life, and it's unfortunate, but people who are clients of mine, great people, they'll say, hey, who's that mortgage guy? And I'll go, Steve, and they'll go, okay, And they'll say, I got a friend of mine who's looking to get a loan, and I wanted to know who that guy was. And what will happen is I will follow up with the person, and I'll go, did you reach Steve? And they'll go, yeah, they didn't have any loans available. does that usually mean, Steve? When someone tells me they talk to you, but there's no loans available.
They didn't qualify.
And then they'll say, yeah, he was really difficult to work with, you know. He kept wanting all this information. And so we're just going to, you know, it wasn't a good fit. And that means that.
They didn't qualify.
Right. Right. So there's one guy recently, I'm being vague, no hints,
Okay,
don't talk
I
about
won't
what he
say
is, don't
anything.
mention where in the world he is, okay? But this guy's wife, wow, she calls me. He is a disaster of a person, so difficult at the close, was an abomination, really, and a disaster. I feel embarrassed that you recommend this man. This is what this woman says. Steve, don't mention who they are, but what was the real situation? Because you followed up, your follow-up.
They were in contract for 3 weeks before they called me with a closing date a week out. Didn't tell me that until I got the contract. And I told them these things take time, so we can't do it in 1 week. But then they hounded me and my team. They're the worst customers ever. And if they were here right now, I would slap the shit out of them because they're literally like the worst humans that you can ever meet, which is
Be vague.
We got it done.
We got it
but
done.
just
Very
some
vague,
people
very
are,
vague.
they think they're the only person on the planet. And the thing that really bothers me the most about people like that is not,
Very
they
vague.
can treat me however,
Very vague.
but they're very, people get really nasty with the people that work for me who didn't sign up for that. And they, you know, they
Right.
work their butts off every day and then they get to take the brunt of that. So got their loan closed. It wouldn't have mattered if I would have made $1 million
Now-
on it. It's not worth it.
Now, let
So-
me switch real quick. Steve has referred a lot of people to me over the years, okay? And we're at a conference, and a young guy came up to us, and he said, hey, I'm a mortgage guy, and I want to see if you can work with me. I live in Tulsa, but you don't have to tell him. You know what I mean? Side deal. He won't know, right? There's no contract, right? And I go, yeah, okay, let me go talk to Steve. So, Steve, there's a guy out here who wants me to work with him, direct competition of yours, you know.
Yeah.
And he
Jeff.
wants me not, hey, vague. And I said, he doesn't want me to tell you, but I just wanted to tell you that he's playing the game, just so you know. And Steve goes, well, I think you should work with him because no matter what kind of coaching you'll give him, he'll never do it.
I said, take his money.
I'm like,
why
are you
not?
serious? He's like, no, it would be a fun
it'll
game
be
for
good.
me, for you to watch this guy be dysfunctional because I know who he is. And I'm going, really? And I'm telling you this because it's in the follow-up is where the success is it not?
Yeah.
It's actually the follow-through, right? The follow-through is where the success is. It's not the acquisition of knowledge. Knowledge without application is meaningless. Are we on the same page?
Well,
I
he
did not say
hey,
that.
to
Thomas
his
Edison did.
credit, though, I think he made it like 90 days. So,
There you go.
I feel like that was 90 days further.
So another example
than
would be,
I
I
expected it
tell
to
my
be.
team this all the time. How many of you have ever cracked open the Bible? And I'm just going to rip on myself. Everybody here is great. I'm probably the worst. But I went to church, and I never read the Bible until about 6 years ago. And but now I read the Bible a lot, you know, and so now it makes more sense to me. But if the pastor said, everybody, this week I'd like you to go read Mark chapter 13, you know, Jesus' final sermon. It'll take you about 10 minutes, Mark 13, and then Luke 21. That's the same last sermon, but Luke's perspective, and then Matthew 24. So Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. It talks about wars, rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, all the things that happen before the return. Read it, and if you don't read it, I'm going to shoot you in the face on Sunday. How many people would die at church?
All of them.
I mean, if there was that kind of follow-up, like I'm going to hit you in the face with a wet fish, shoot you with a fire hose, just slap you with a crowbar if you don't read it. How many people
Would you get
actually-
Randy for that since it's a fire hose?
Yes.
Never mind. All right.
I mean, how many? I mean,
he still
if
here,
there was a
Randy?
if there was follow-up, you know what I mean? Like if we were, and I'm just telling you, if I'd gone to church and a pastor had asked me for all those years, did you read what I told you to read? I would have failed every week because it wasn't something I wanted to go to church, but I didn't want to actually read the book. Does that make sense to you? Are we on the same page? So the follow-up, if you're going to be successful, you have to seek follow-up. You want someone to say, did you get it done? Did you get it done? Did you get it done? Not somebody who's going to avoid that awkward conversation. You're going to want follow-up, okay? People who are successful seek follow-up. And the final area, Eliza, I want to go to you here. To build a successful company, you have to build an organization, you have to be organized, right? So you have to insist on organization and proper nomenclature or naming things properly. Like your business cards cannot be saved in your Dropbox or your Google Drive as BC. If that's you, please stop doing that on behalf of your team, yourself, your kids, your future, your legacy, or lack thereof. Don't save business cards as BC ever again because abbreviations elongate conversations and create confusion. Okay? So when you abbreviate, it elongates conversations. How many of you have been in a business meeting where no one can find the passwords? So you want to save things and be organized. Now, Eliza, you're building a business right now. How have you learned to do that, saving things where you can find them again?
Well, it's just become part of the process, especially with working with you guys. You have a lot of systems that we use to be successful, like Dropbox. And if I wrote something in there that didn't make any sense, and then my coach is like, well, what is this? I was like, oh, that was supposed to get done 2 weeks ago. And he's like, how was I supposed to know that? You know what I mean? Because it just says like RED or something like that, you know? It's important to be organized, especially when you're working with other people. But I know, half of us in here could probably attest that, if you just scribbled something really fast and you looked at it later, you were like, I know I wrote that. I have no idea what it says. If you had just written it clearly the first time, right. If you had just written it clearly the first time, you would be successful.
Now, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, who's read that book? Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Robert Kiyosaki will more than likely be back here in the winter, and there's a specific date we're talking about right now, trying to make the schedule work. And if he gives me a specific date, I need to write that down. And then, but if on a flyer, so we make these flyers to promote the events, right? I'll save it as version 1 because that's the tentative date. But if he calls me back and tells me the new date, I go to version 2. And then if he says, could you change this language, that's version 3. Aaron, why do I save things as version 1, 2, 3, 4? So clients I've worked with for 10 years, we might have version 47 of their one sheet or their marketing materials.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons there. One of them would be you keep improving and you want to have the previous versions to look back at what you improved. But things definitely change over time, and I have, we have floor plans, for example, where we'd have like 7 different versions over time. We'd keep improving. But you want to be able to see where you came from, what got better, and what was worse before, and remind yourself of it.
So let's go through our stack of stuff. Steve, I'm going to have you be our stack of stuff, kind of our Vanna White kind of guy here. Let's pass the mic to Steve here. This is what's called a workflow. And Steve, why does everybody need to have a documented workflow?
Well, that way the team knows how things flow and they can follow it.
So this workflow is for a company called Flow Photography. The founder of that company's name is Ryan Wells. And Ryan has built a system, and that is his system. Does that make sense? Everybody got that? Yeah? Okay. Now, if you flip it over on the back side of that, that is a copy of this whiteboard. And I encourage everybody to circle in the book.
It's not the actual whiteboard. It's like a paper version of it.
There you go. Yes.
Clarifying there for you.
Oh, yeah. So if you go to page 4 or 5 of the book, you want to circle the areas where you struggle. And why do you want to circle the areas where you struggle? Why would you want to do that, Steve? Why would you want to be in the book? Why would you want to circle the areas where you need help?
So that this doesn't just become entertainment, and you can actually go back to your business and look at the areas that you identified while you were listening and work on them.
When I built DJ Connection, before I sold it, I had my workflow on the whiteboard. Why, Aaron, did I put my workflow on the whiteboard for the DJ company before? I mean, it was always there. Why did I always have it on the wall?
So that the whole team could see it and you could see it. If it's not in front of you, you're ignoring it, and you wanted to look at it every day, all day, and meditate on it. And I've seen you do this a bunch of times with other things.
Now, with the brides, what percentage of the brides do you think couldn't determine what song they wanted for their first dance? Just guess.
99?
What do you think?
Wait, all of them?
It was like, probably 75%. So we have to call the bride the week before the wedding, and we say, hey, what song do you want for your first dance? And probably 75% would kind of struggle with that decision. And we'd say, what song do you want for the father-daughter dance? What song do you want for the mother-son dance? What song do you... And you have to clarify that, right? And we had a guy, I won't mention his name, but he was the problem. So I looked at my workflow, and I'm going, the problem we have here on my workflow is that the brides were having a hard time confirming the wedding details on the week of. And it is not a process problem. It is a human problem. That human is you, and so you're fired. And I replaced him with a new person who got every bride to confirm all their stuff real fast. But it takes the emotion out of it when you have a blueprint or a recipe or a map or a workflow. So it's so important. So any questions about workflows? Anybody have any questions about workflows? Workflows? Anybody? Workflows? Workflows? Okay. So workflows, got to have that. We talked about the perfect hiring system. We got that? Okay. Now this is time management. Who has this document? Here you go, Steve. Hold that up there. Time management. That's kind of the jar. And who's ever heard that analogy about you put the rocks in the jar, then the sand? You know about that? So you put the rocks in, then you put the sand. And what happens is
the sand first.
You could do that. And this is why I am somewhat culturally... I try to stay... I know it seems hard to believe, but I try to not pay attention to politics at all ever. And then COVID happened, and I still try to not pay attention because people will go, did you see what Trump just said? Did you see what Biden just said? Did you see what the how many of you have been in that cycle where you're getting those text messages? And I just don't care what either party said. What I do care is what did my wife just say. Are we on the same page? How many of you been to dinner with people that are like scrolling Instagram during dinner and they're not hearing what you just said because they're trying to hear what some political hack just said? Have you seen this? So I don't have time in my life for political jackassery. So what goes into my life? I schedule time for the faith, the family, the finance, all those things, and whatever doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. But it's very important that you look at your life as that jar, okay? And you want to schedule what matters. But you got to schedule what matters. It's so important that you schedule what matters. Tonight, shameless plug, Pastor Leon Benjamin, there he is. Can you come up here real quick, Pastor Leon? You don't have to come tonight. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, it's fine. But Pastor Leon Benjamin, he'll be here at 6:30 tonight. I'll be here at 6:30 tonight. Don't let that keep you from coming. But Pastor Leon comes here on Thursdays to teach the gospel. It doesn't mean that I'm a great guy because I participate in church on Thursday nights. It doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're not here. I'm just saying is I'm going to be here because it's in my schedule. Does that make sense? Like I'm going to be here, but I'm not going to be here if it's not in my schedule. So Pastor Leon, let's give him the mic just for a second here. Pastor Leon here. You flew in here from, where did you fly in from, Pastor Leon Benjamin? Where did you come from?
Virginia.
What time is church starting tonight?
Tonight, 6:30 p.m.
How far of a flight was it from Virginia to Tulsa?
Well, I got to do a transfer because it's not a direct flight from Virginia, so I got to go either to Dallas, which is about 2.5 hours, and then an hour here from Dallas, or I go to Charlotte, which is about an hour, and then it's like 2 hours from Charlotte.
Have you done that flight 150 times?
Probably.
Yeah, so it's in the schedule, though. You know, and it's like he's got it in the schedule, he's here, it happens. I want to talk about that for a second. There's a lot of things that you schedule. Why did you schedule to be here? Why are you here?
It's a calling. It's important that God impressed upon my spirit. I came with the Reawaken America tour. Clay asked me to come, and then we prayed on that first awesome event, and then Clay called me and says, God wants to start a church, and I'm not the pastor, you are. Well, I had to turn to my wife, because my
I asked it more as a question, but it was a passionate question.
We believe it was agreement in the house. My wife and I said, this is what the Lord is doing. And that was now, April of 2021. So here we are.
5 years?
5 years later.
Yeah. But again, what gets scheduled gets done. Looking at our stack of stuff here, we'll talk about this stuff more tomorrow, but this is a one sheet. Josh, I want to get your take on the one sheet. Ever got a one sheet? You see the one sheet? Okay. Every business needs a one sheet, and a one sheet explains what you do on one sheet. If you're a custom home builder, you need one sheet. If you're removing tattoos, you need a one sheet. Josh, I want to get your thoughts, and I want to get Eliza's thoughts on this. Why do you want to have a one sheet that shows everything that you do on one sheet? It also serves as a good fan. Why do you want to have a one sheet?
It helps you, especially in a sales presentation, explain your value proposition versus your competitors. And you can say the same things, but as humans, we're kind of hardwired to believe nothing of what we hear and everything of what we see. Even though you've created the document, it's much more powerful, and it becomes even more powerful. Even more powerful again once you start to get other people to do the selling in your organization.
Eliza, let's pass the mic to Eliza real quick. Eliza, one sheet. Why do you want to have one sheet?
I find it's a really quick resource to answers that are, commonly asked, right? So, if somebody asks a question, you can have it off the top of your head, and inevitably they're going to ask, well, why? And if you're like, well, that was the only answer I had prepared, then, you stop there and your reputability is gone.
Can we bring up the founder of 918 Design, Miss Leah? Can you come here real quick here, the founder of 918 Design? Leon, you have, the Bible is one book. You're not going to talk from the Quran tonight. Maybe you could, but you're not going to. You're not going to quote the angel Moroni. You're not going to get into quoting from, various mysticism books. You're not going to be quoting from the Zohar tonight. Why is it important that people know that you're going to be teaching from the Bible, the one book?
Well, we've been taught as ministers of the gospel that the Bible is the inerrant word of God, infallible word of truth. and it is without error when we say infallible. And so the 66 books, as we know, has been canonized over a period of time, and it's what we go to. And the word, Jesus said, search the scriptures. In it you think you have eternal life. The scriptures speak of me. So the Bible is actually Jesus Christ. So we're not just preaching a word, we're preaching the word.
And it can be disturbing to people if you're talking about your faith and you go, I kind of quote all books as valid, so we'll have fun with that tonight. No, it just, it helps people know where you're coming from. Now, Leah, again, total secular sense, you have a company, 918 Design. We've had the honor of working with you for years. Why is it important that you have the services that you offer organized somewhere for people to see? Leah, let's pass the mic to Leah real quick here. Why is it important how often do people say, what do you do?
We actually get asked that, and when it really hits you is when we've been screen printing for someone for a good while, and then you find out that they didn't even realize that we did embroidery, and the services go together, or they didn't realize we did promotional products. Actually, a client of ours was here earlier, and we do his screen printing and his embroidery, and he didn't realize that we could do the step and repeat backdrop for him. So I learned today that I need to get my people actually doing a better job showing our one sheet so that we don't miss opportunities.
Got to tell you a crazy story, be kind of vague about it. I don't want to throw people under the bus, but this is a true story. One of our clients builds pools, and he's putting in a pergola for a client. He's putting a pergola in, and he's putting the pergola's going in, and then he sees a truck show up, and boop, 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 they're bulldozing, and he asks the home builder, or the homeowner, why are you hiring this company to do pools? We do pools? And they go, oh, I didn't know you do pools. I thought you just did pergolas. One sheet. That was like $100,000. That kind of thing happens a lot. So it's really important that you let your clients see what you do. If you're an optometrist, it's really important for you to see. When Dr. Z rolled out ophthalmology services, they rolled out LASIK. That was so important for every single patient to know that they also did LASIK, because it turned into upsell. Trisha, so important that every single customer gets an ice cream sample or gelato sample. You know that. I love you enough to say that again. It's so important because you have a pizzeria over here, right? Papa Gallo's. And how often do you hear from, you can yell at us, how often do you hear from people that say, I didn't even know you had an ice cream or gelato shop? All the time. So even though it's like, is it 50 feet away? Or less, you have to go, hey, by the way, we have a gelato business right next door. And you want to say it to every single customer. You've got to have a one sheet. Does that make sense? One sheet, got to have one sheet. One sheet. How often does a one sheet lead to an upsell for you? You say, also, we do this.
Pretty constantly. I have other businesses that I work with as well, so if I'm trying to connect them with somebody after me, that's somebody that I work with that I know is reputable, then I can be like, well, I can do your removal, and I also know somebody who will give me a kickback for doing your cover-up after it's done. So those sorts of things are great, and it works on the flip side as well. If there's something in your company that you don't like doing and don't want to do, if you're not making your customers aware of that, then you don't have to do it. So that means that if you're not making your customers aware of something that you do, you're not making money in that area.
Steve, I want to go to you, then we'll go to Josh on this. You do mortgages, but what else do you do?
Trucking, but I don't really want to. And Jennifer knows. She's laughing over there. I have a few other things: commercial real estate, insurance, mortgage. Yep.
And a one sheet, when someone says, oh, you do home equity loans, oh, you do mortgage, oh, you do construction loans, oh, you do. I'm always find that people are always amazed that you do beyond just a traditional mortgage. And it's just having that one sheet, okay? For all the home cleaners by the name of Avery and Thomas, this is a big thing for you, letting people know. Josh, always bookkeeping. What are all the services that you provide in Canada? Oh, don't you know?
Well, we do bookkeeping, tax, fractional CFO services, and family office services.
One sheet. We got the one sheet. Got to have one sheet. Okay. Business card. When I used to DJ, I had a metal business card. This is my business card. You see my business card? Okay. Why do I go through the effort of making a metal business card? Does anyone want to guess? Why? John, what do you think? Yeah, I would run into brides who I had DJ'd for 10 years ago, and they'd go, I still have your business card from like 2002. Because it's like a thing that sticks out. Okay? We'll talk about that more tomorrow. But your branding, if it's not remarkable, it's invisible. Okay? So your branding, if it's not remarkable, it's invisible. Your branding has to be remarkable or it's invisible. Final couple items I want to go over with you guys. It's very, very important. It's very, very important. Look, we have this event coming up in June. You don't have to come to it, but it's very important that your customers know what's happening next. Right? They have to know, like, what is happening next. In our case, we have an upcoming conference. Maybe that's relevant to you, maybe it's not. But it's really important that you make sure your customers know what's happening next. Josh, why is it important for your clients when they know, okay, our next meeting to evaluate our financials is this time next week? Why can't you just leave it ambiguous and not close the loop?
It would take forever to get them back on the calendar to actually do it. So, we're either going to have a scheduled monthly meeting or we're going to have a set time for when that next meeting is going to occur. Because you would spend almost as much time as the meeting getting them back on the calendar for the meeting.
I have a client who swears that this doubled their revenue, just this concept of always set an appointment. Because most people don't do that. Have you noticed that? Most people say, yeah, let's get together. Yeah, I'll call you back. Let's circle back. Let's get in touch. But they don't. So just always setting that next appointment is a big thing. Lee, I want to get your thoughts on this. When you talk to someone who says, I think I want to hire you to do T-shirts or design, why do you have to book a follow-up consultation or a follow-up time? What happens if you just say, call me back? What happens?
They don't call back most of the time.
Yeah, it's just very important. You just got to have that follow-up, okay? Final couple things, and then we'll wrap up for today. On the board here, Josh, let's go 90 miles an hour through the questions. I want to make sure we answer all the questions on the whiteboard. Then we'll join tomorrow at 7 a.m. What do you got there, Josh?
How do I create a Google map?
That'll be something we'll go over tomorrow. Keep that for tomorrow because it's more of a detailed, granular thing. We'll walk you through it tomorrow. Just keep it there. Next one.
This one's about a business that has 1 to 5 employees. It's a retirement business. It's called Stone Ground Wheat and Flour, and they're asking when should they go on Amazon.
Well, Amazon is a tough place to be because Amazon, like when I sell a book on Amazon, Amazon makes more money than I make on every book. I don't know if you guys know that, but when I sell a book, Amazon actually makes more money per copy of each book than I make. And they do that for most things. So I would highly recommend that you would go direct to consumer and avoid Amazon at all costs. But if you do go on Amazon, who's been on Amazon and has played that game before? If you're on Amazon, it's very tough because all of a sudden Amazon starts to create their own version of what you're doing at a lower price and you're competing with yourself. So I would stay away from that unless you have to. Next one.
How do you inspire your team? What's the rhythm?
Well, we talked about the daily huddle every single day. Daily huddle, weekly meeting, daily huddle. Next one.
Regarding carrots and sticks, what are some examples of effective sticks for different employee types, managers versus workers, and different positions, office workers versus shop and field workers?
Well, you got 3. You got 3 sticks that exist in the world. There's just 3. That's all we have. That's all we have. This just in on behalf of team management. This is all we have. This is all we've come up with. 1 is a financial stick. So an example would be, Steve, in your business, if I worked for you and I don't close the loan, what happens to my paycheck? If I work for you and I don't close the loan, what happens to my bonus or lack thereof?
You don't get any money.
There it is. So you don't, it's a carrot, it's a stick. I told you with the DJ Connection business back in the day, if you wowed the bride, you got your big paycheck. If you don't, you don't. There's got to be some kind of financial, some sort of reward, carrot and stick. There's just got to be, if you can put a financial mechanism there, that's powerful. How many of you don't get speeding tickets? I am a person that does not get speeding tickets. I don't get them. I have been pulled over. I have been pulled over multiple times for driving too slow. The last time Officer Zygmunt was like, what are you doing? You're driving like 40 and a 60. What are you doing? And he knows me very well. And I go, not in a hurry to get anywhere. I left early. I just tend to drive slow. I'm usually listening to a song, usually have a good time. So I'm not, other people I know get a lot of tickets, okay? But ultimately, if there wasn't a ticket or a fee or a price or a fine associated with not adhering to the speed limits, people would just drive whatever speed they want to drive. If you don't pay your mortgage on time, they hit you with a fine or a fee or a late fee. There just has to be some kind of financial stick. Make sense? Okay? The next thing, and I'm just telling you the 3. The next one, I don't know if this is healthy, but it works. Public shame. It's one of my favorites. I used to work for a boss named Lex. Lex was my boss, and we worked in a call center. I was 20 years old. And Lex would play everyone's call. So imagine you're in a call center, And let's imagine that Eliza's in the call center. She's following the script. Steve's following the script. Leon's following the script. Leah's following the script, but I'm not. Okay? So Lex would go, all right, guys, welcome to this morning. And we're going to start off today. We're in a call center for DirecTV. I'm going to play your calls. And I was a newer employee, so I thought, this is a great game. He said, we're going to play your calls, and he did this every morning. We're going to play your calls. So we'll go to call, and he'd pull up your line, play, boop, and you hear your call. Who's ever heard your call for the first time? Who's ever heard your voice for the first time on a voicemail? And it's like, right away, it's kind of jarring because you're hearing yourself in front of 30 people that you work with. And he's like, Clay Clark, that was an incredibly terrible call. You have really let the team down. And it's amazing that you made it to work today with a call that sounds that bad. And I'm like, wow. And he would do that, though. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. And he's like, so what we're going to do is you don't get to have a chair today to sit in because you don't deserve it. And I would like to reserve chairs for people that deserve it. So you get to stand all day. And we'll just kind of be a testament to, just lack of preparation. Oh, and I'm like, just muttering curse words. Just sort of like, stop it. He's like, don't get mad at me. He looked like Terry Crews, by the way. He looked just like Terry Crews. He's like, don't get mad at me. You're the one who sucks. But he would also do public rewards. So if he played the call, boop, boop, boop. Eliza, what a great call. Wow. Look, I have found $50 in my wallet, and I'm going to give it to you. And the man doesn't know about it. He used to say these things. The man doesn't know about it. No taxes. 50 for you. And Clay, I want to remind you, you didn't get the $50. And I'm like, what? And he's like, Clay, he would do this in our meetings. So Clay, you're going to buy Eliza lunch today. And I'm like, are you kidding? That's what you're going to do. What, Eliza, do you like Applebee's? Clay wants to buy you because he doesn't get the bonus. So he's going to use the money he doesn't have to buy you lunch because he sucks. And I'm like, God. And that happened like one time, and I'm like, never again. I am never having a bad call. So public shame is a great move. It is. Who knows about public shame? Did Tim Tebow not tell you about the running the stairs? I had a basketball coach, and this is what a basketball coach would do. If you didn't hustle, he would go, timeout practice, timeout. You see this guy not hustling? He would call him out. Everybody else has to run and chant his name because he's special. And so you're like, are you kidding? And he's not kidding. Everybody say it, Aaron, Aaron, he's special. He's our king. He's our Lord. Aaron, just sit there and watch it. They love you. But that's what he would do. He would say that, and I remember that. We had a guy on our team named Aaron, very talented guy, and he was not this Aaron, but a very talented guy. And this guy, my coach, made us, why does that work? We're running, and we're looking at this guy, and we're like, dude, we hate you, And he's like, look at him. He's special. He doesn't have to hustle. So you do. Isn't this great? Public shame works, and I don't know if you can get away with it, but I like it. It's my favorite. Also, public praise. Public praise, verbal bouquets, those are powerful. How many of you know public praise is a powerful thing? Pulling somebody in front of the team and saying, wow, that is a great job. Way to go, verbal bouquet. So what I like to do now, because I have multiple teammates and stuff, I focus exclusively, I try to, on public praise because it works, and carrots and sticks. And then I try to provide private correction because most people in the American workplace today can't handle any public shame or any criticism. It's too injurious to their souls, and they'll probably need a psychologist after you do that to them today. But who remembers the 80s? Remember driving your bike without a helmet? God, it was awesome. How many of you had a dad that never wore a seatbelt, and yet he made it? That was a great time. So anyway, we're not in that time now, so I recommend you stick within public praise and carrots and sticks. I recommend you do that, okay? So I'm going to do it. Okay, and then physical harm. Physical harm is what Steve likes. That's the okay. Final question, and then we'll take our final question, and then we'll kind of wrap up here. Final question, go for it.
How to balance sales and hiring to not overcommit and or burn out your team?
I don't know that. Okay, first off, how burnout? And I'm just being real. I don't believe in it, so I don't want to get into a philosophical debate. I don't believe in burnout. I just think that if you burn out, you can't be an entrepreneur. You just don't have what it takes. If you're suffering from burnout, you need to go get a job. For somebody who allows burnout to be possible. But if you're an entrepreneur, you just can't burn out. I don't know. I've been married for 25 years. I never go home and say, I'm burned out. I just get it done. You know?
Hey, people work really well in stress. And so if they're like not very stressed, you're not going to get very much productivity. I measure with my team the red zone. That's like the, oh my God, I'm about to be in tears because I'm so stressed out. And usually it only takes about a 5-minute conversation and helping them prioritize the things that are like overwhelming them at the time. That brings them out of the red zone back to their happy place of like a very high stress work environment, which is where we operate, you know? And so it's not bad to have stress, but like 5 minutes, I'll sit down.
And I'll just say this, what you want to do, and this is how I do, I try to figure out the dynamic range of our teammates. So I'm going to pick on Levi. And I like Levi. Was Levi's mom here? Is your mom here? Is she here somewhere? Is she here? She was here. She got upset with me and left, I'm sure. No, your mom's great. But I know what Levi can handle, and so I stick within that range. But you know this, Levi, because you're here. Every week I get about 1 or 2% more intense with you because I know you can handle more and more to the point where the dynamic range is. Does this make sense to you? Like I'm developing a comfort zone with Levi. And when he started, I knew he could do this, and he's always been great and coachable, but every week we get a little bit tougher. And now he can handle more and more and more, and so I give him more responsibility, and that's how I do it. But I never want to, like, burn you out. But as an entrepreneur, you can't get burned out. Does that make any sense? Your employees, they didn't sign up to be the owner. That's why they're an employee, so don't burn them out. But you as an owner, you can't suffer from burnout because there's nobody to come help you. So you got to find your own schedule that works well for you. Now, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. Now, just to be clear, there's a lot of take-home items for you guys, a lot of take-home items. One more I wanted to identify. This right here is the roller coaster, and this is what building a business is like. Okay? It feels a lot like a roller coaster. You start off with the accounting and the branding and the marketing and the sales, and you just keep, it's a roller coaster. And then once you generate momentum, it's a lot more fun. Or scary as you go down, okay? But if you are here today and you want to schedule a 13-point assessment with myself, James is here to do that. He's got the red tie on. If you don't, that's fine too, but that's what I do. I'd be happy to help you with that. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up today, and I just encourage you to meet somebody that or if you met somebody today, maybe go out to dinner with them. Maybe you said, I don't want to talk to any more people today. I need time alone. That's fine. But tomorrow we're starting at 7 in the morning. We're starting at 7 in the morning. It's going to be an action-packed day tomorrow. So we're going to get here tomorrow at 7 a.m. And we're going to have a blasty blast tomorrow. Tonight at 6:30, Pastor Leon Benjamin will be here 6:30 tonight. And let's put our hands together for all the presenters today. Let's hear it for all the presenters. And thank you, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. I like to end every day with a boom because boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. See you guys tomorrow.
But that Clay Clark, man, he is one character.
It's a good word for him, character. Yeah, that is it.
Good, driven, smart. And I've never met a guy who was so hyper all the time. He's doing so much good. And then I met his mother, and she just says, she just lets him be Clay Clark. I mean, so he's endorsed by his mother, and he's doing magnificent work. So it was great meeting you out there and all the people that he surrounds himself with. Clay Clark starts his days at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, he's a machine. He's a machine.
Yeah. But I have problems with my company starting at 9 o'clock. Yes, hundreds of people showing up at 5 a.m. in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man, he's a leader of a leader. He's a fantastic young man.
No, he is. He is. Yeah. And it's for the folks that aren't familiar with you, and probably few and far between, I first came across you, gosh, probably 15 years ago, or maybe even 20.
Clay Clark is here somewhere. Where's my buddy Clay? Clay's the greatest. I met his goats today. I met his dogs. I met his chickens. I saw his compound. He's like the greatest guy.
I ran from his goats, his chickens, his dogs.
So this guy's like the greatest marketer you've ever seen, right? His entire life, Clay Clark, his entire life is marketing.
I heard about it on the podcast. Started listening to the podcast, became a fan, and then figured out about the workshop. I own an insurance and financial services agency, and I was hoping to learn from the workshop systems and processes. I'm big on systems and processes and always learning better ways to run a business more efficiently. The atmosphere's second to none. It's a high energy, really cool atmosphere to be around. Contagious, I would say. Just something every entrepreneur, I think, would appreciate and love. I'd say humorous, high energy, and full of substance, which I think is the key. A lot of business coaches or seminars maybe are high on motivation and making you feel good, but don't have a lot of substance that you can take back and implement, the following Monday, where his does. Man, there's a lot of valuable things. I'm gonna say, this is my second workshop. The first workshop I took back really the importance of a group interview. I used to spend hours and hours interviewing people, screening resumes, and that saving my time on that part is valuable. It was that and then the sales scripting that have been two major things just so far. Man, I think they're missing out on, expert advice from somebody who's been there, done that, built companies, has learned a lot of lessons. That's what I'm always looking for, is somebody that I can learn from that's ahead of where I am. And I think if you choose not to come, you're missing out on a lot of good advice that could help your business.
Hi, I'm Aaron Antis with Shaw Homes. I first heard about Clay through a mortgage lender here in town who had told me what a great job he had been doing for them, and I actually noticed he was driving a Lamborghini all of a sudden, so I was willing to listen. In my career, I've sold a little over $800 million in real estate. So honestly, I thought I kind of knew everything about marketing and homes. And then I met Clay, and my perception of what I knew and what I could do definitely changed. After doing $800 million in sales over a 15-year career, I really thought I knew what I was doing. I've been managing a large team of salespeople for the last 10 years here with Shaw Homes. And we've been a company that's been in business for 35 years. We've become one of the largest builders in the Tulsa area, and that was without Clay. So when I came to know Clay, I really thought, man, there's not much more I need to know, but I'm willing to listen. The interesting thing is our internet leads from our website has actually, in a 4-month period of time, has gone from somewhere around 10 to 15 leads in a month to 180 internet leads in a month. Just from the few things that he's shown us how to implement that I honestly probably never would have come up with on my own. So I got a lot of good things to say about the system that Clay put in place with us, and it's just been an incredible experience. I am very glad that we met and had the opportunity to work with Clay. So the interaction with the team and with Clay on a weekly basis is honestly very enlightening. One of the things that I love about Clay's perspective on things is that he doesn't come from my industry. He's not somebody who's in the home building industry. I've listened to all the experts in my field. Our company has paid for me to go to seminars, international builder shows, all kinds of places where I've had the opportunity to learn from the experts in my industry. But the thing that I found working with Clay is that he comes from such a broad spectrum of working with so many different types of businesses that he has a perspective that's difficult for me to gain because I get so entrenched in what I do, I'm not paying attention to what other leading industry experts are doing. And Clay really brings that perspective for me. It is very valuable time every week when I get that hour with him. From my perspective, the reason that any business owner who's thinking about hooking up with Thrive needs to definitely consider it is because the results that we've gotten in a very short period of time are honestly monumental. It has really exceeded my wildest expectation of what he might be able to do. I came in skeptical because I'm very pragmatic, and as I've gone through the process over just a few months, I've realized it's probably one of the best moves we've ever made. I think a lot of people probably feel like they don't need a business or marketing consultant because they maybe are a little bit prideful and like to think they know everything. I know that's how I felt coming in. We're a big company that's definitely one of the largest in town. And so we kind of felt like we knew what we were doing. And I think for a lot of people, they let their ego get in the way of listening to somebody that might have a better or different perspective than theirs. I would just really encourage you, if you're thinking about working with clay, I mean, the thing is, it's month to month. Go give it a try and see what happens. I think in the 35-year history of Shaw Homes, this is probably the best thing that's happened to us. And I know if you give them a shot, I think you'll feel the same way. I know for me, the thing I would have missed out on if I didn't work with clay is I would have missed out on literally an 1,800% increase in our internet leads, going from 10 a month to 180 a month. That would have been a huge financial decision to just decide not to give it a shot. I would absolutely recommend Clay Clark to anybody who's thinking about working with somebody in marketing. I would skip over anybody else you were thinking about, and I would go straight to Clay and his team. I guarantee you're not going to regret it, because we sure haven't.
My name is Danielle Sprick, and I am the founder of D Sprick Realty Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After being a stay-at-home mom for 12 years and my 3 kids started school and they were in school full-time, I was at a crossroads and trying to decide what do I want to do? My degree and my background is in education, but after being a mom and staying home and all of that, I just didn't have a passion for it like I once did. My husband suggested real estate. He's a home builder, so real estate and home building go hand in hand, and we just rolled with it. I love people, I love working with people, I love building relationships, but one thing that was really difficult for me was the business side of things. The processes and the advertising and marketing. I knew that I did not have what I needed to make that what it should be. So I reached out to Clay at that time, and he and his team have been extremely instrumental in helping us build our brand, help market our business, our agents, the homes that we represent. Everything that we do is a direct line from Clay and his team and all that they've done for us. We launched our brokerage, our real estate brokerage, 8 months ago. And in that time, we've gone from myself and one other agent to just this week, we signed on our 16th agent. We have been blessed with the fact that we right now have just over 10 million in pending transactions. 3 years ago, I never would have even imagined that I would be in this role that I'm in today, building a business, having 16 agents. But I have to give credit where credit's due, and Clay and his team and the business coaching that they've offered us has been huge. It's been instrumental in what we're doing. Don't ever limit your vision. When you dream big, big things happen.
I started a business because I couldn't work for anyone else. I do things my way. I do what I think is in the best interest of the patient. I don't answer to insurance companies. I don't answer to large corporate organizations. I answer to my patient, and that's it. My thought when I opened my clinic was I can do this all myself. I don't need additional outside help in many ways. I went to medical school. I can figure this out. But it was a very, very steep learning curve. Within the first 6 months of opening my clinic, I had a $63,000 embezzlement. I lost multiple employees. Clay helped us weather the storm of some of the things that are just a lot of people experience, especially in the medical world. He was instrumental in helping with the specific written business plan. He's been instrumental in hiring good quality employees, using the processes that he outlines for getting in good talent, which is extremely difficult. He helped me in securing the business loans. He helped me with web development and search engine optimization. We've been able to really keep a steady stream of clients coming in because they found us on the web. With everything that I encountered, everything that I experienced, I quickly learned it is worth every penny to have someone in your team that can walk you through and even avoid some of the pitfalls that are almost invariable in starting your own business. I'm Dr. Chad Edwards, and I own Revolution Health and Wellness Clinic.
Clay, my honor to be on your show. And thank you for all you do. I hear the ripple effects from you are good ripple effects. You know what I mean? People rave about what they learn from you. So congratulations.
And we went from expecting maybe 250,000 this year to we're at 400,000. Hi, I'm Kelsey with K&D's Woodward Finishing. I'm business owner at 23. So I've been working this K&D's company for about 5 years now, and we started working with Thrive not too long ago. And we went from expecting maybe 250,000 this year to we're at 400,000. That's what we're going to hit or exceed. So we're pretty excited about that. It's been pretty much just listening to what they have to say. Their hiring process has just really been incredible as far as finding good quality help, and the just the accountability of meeting up with them weekly, and like such good insight, the resources that they have for specific business questions. It's all been really incredible. It's been a great experience, so I would recommend it to anybody.
What I've seen from Clay and his group at Thrive is they'll give you a simple system, and it's the simple systems are the ones that people can wrap their brain around. They're the ones that people can work with on a day-to-day basis.
Hi there, my name is Stephanie Pipkin. I am 24 years old and I own Black River Falls Cleaning Services. We opened in April of 2019 and it is now mid-June of 2020. So I wanted to talk today about the success and growth I have achieved by implementing the Proven Path with Clay Clark's team and my business coach Luke from Thrivetime. It has been insane to say the least. I started working with them in mid-February of this year, so we're about 4 months in of working together, and it has completely transformed my business in pretty much every facet. So I'm gonna check my notes here. So in 4 months, my leads have tripled. I was getting probably like 2 leads a week. Now I'm getting more in the like 10 to 15 leads a week. I have doubled my number of employees. I'm now hitting the highest revenue weeks in the history of the company, week to week it seems like. We went from about 6 appointments today as our highest in February to now 14 to 15 appointments a day. And hiring quality employees has become much simpler and less stressful by using their systems for hiring. I typically only get maybe 2 complaints a month, if that, and everybody shows up to work. I just have really high quality employees now, especially in something people typically consider a high turnover type of work, you know, cleaning houses, cleaning businesses. I have amazing employees now, and I get rid of the ones who are not so amazing and bring on new ones because of, you know, group interviews and interviewing every single week. It's just been great, and such I don't waste as much time on low quality candidates anymore. And your coach will hold you accountable. I mean, which I love. Again, the tough love is really great. You know, Luke's like a stern father figure, but he's also nice, but also stern when he needs to be, when I'm being lazy and not doing the things that I know I need to do because I don't want to do them. So that's just great. Worth every penny. I mean, I'd pay him $1 million a month if I can, and maybe someday I'll be able to, but I would just say go for it. If it seems like a good fit, just go for it. Do what they say, even if you think it's stupid or ridiculous, just do what they say because it'll work. You know, people, when they look at my business, you know, people in my town, they think I'm lucky. They think I'm just, you know, things just happen for me. And, you know, maybe I am lucky, but it has a lot to do with hard work and, you know, perseverance and, you know, working till you cry sometimes. That's just being an entrepreneur, which if you're a business owner, you understand that. But it's having these systems in place of, you know, of course I'm going to be successful. It's an absolute because I have all this stuff in the background happening, and I have Luke and Clay and everybody on their team working really hard to make sure that I'm a success. And I can tell that they are just so excited every single week when I'm having all these wins and things like that. They're so excited for me. So it's the best thing ever, and I would suggest to anybody to work with them. So sorry for the long-winded reply, but I just had so much to say, and I could go on for hours probably about how amazing they are. But thank you to Clay and Luke and the entire team there, everything you guys have done for me, and I am so excited to continue to work with you for years to come. Thanks so much for watching.
My saying is, if it's important to you, hire a coach. And I think that's one of the reasons people are not successful is they eat a cheeseburger instead of hiring a coach, you know what I mean? And so my coach pushes me. They're younger than me. They push harder. They're trained. And as my rich dad always said, amateurs don't have a coach, but professionals always have coaches. So I've always had coaches for whatever was important. My rich dad was one of those persons.
Most of the best in the world in business or in sports, they have also coaches on the side and mentors on the side. Why? Because they want that 1% of 1% of 1% to get better.
You're on it, man. You're on it. You're on it. Everybody, listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You have the macro picture. Very few people have that point of view. Clay, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And as they say in Stoic, the obstacle is the way. And so if you let these pinheads get in your way, you're in trouble.
The Thrivetime Show, 2-day interactive business workshops, are the highest and most reviewed business workshops on the planet.
You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built the Thrive15.com workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every Thrive15.com workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.